For those of you who follow our YouTube channel, we recently reviewed the Kumho AT51 all-terrain tyre that I've been running on my Pajero for some time. Kumho have just released a new mud tyre, so we asked them if we could have a set to test them out, and they were generous enough to provide a brand new set of their MT71s for us to review. The tyres we were supplied are 17-inch, so I borrowed my mate's VW Amarok and a spare set of wheels and went and had them fitted up at Plumpton Tyre and Auto Centre. As you can see, they have a very aggressive tread pattern as you'd expect from a mud terrain tyre, so it'll be interesting to see what they're like on the bitumen. We're heading north to the Central Coast and taking the back roads to get a bit of a feel for the on-road handling. I was expecting these tyres to be quite noisy, especially considering the big block pattern on them. But I've been pleasantly surprised. They're not nearly as noisy as I was expecting them to be. Which is a good thing, because most of us will do a lot of kilometres on the blacktop, and we don't want a really noisy tyre. Kumho have told us that they've spent a lot of time developing this tyre, and that highway handling and stability was a key design element, as well as the off-road performance. But let's get this thing off-road. We've come to the Watagan Forest north of Sydney, and it's been a bit wet. We've selected a range of tracks to test these tyres, but we're also aware that we don't want to tear up the tracks with this aggressive tread. Our first track is mainly black soil, and the going's been pretty easy with the tyres performing as expected. These tracks are very popular with four-wheel drivers, so sometimes they can get a bit cut up. Let's have a quick talk about the tyre design, which you can find info on the Kumho website. There are 7 integrated steel and fabric layers in the tyre. It has a 3-ply high-strength construction with 2 steel cord layers and 2 nylon protection plies that Kumho claim is one of the most robust mud terrain tyres you can buy. It also has mud and stone ejector bars in the design to prevent damage from stones drilling into the tread, and also to help with self-cleaning. It also has quite an aggressive sidewall design with extra biting lugs, which is clearly designed for additional traction. And here is our first real challenge, which will be a good test for the tyres. We've got a large log across the track, which has actually been here for a long while. The approach to the log is pretty steep, so we'll need to be careful of our ramp over on the Amarok. We're pretty keen to get over this log, but obviously the tyres are one thing, but the car's capability is another, and we're just a little worried we're going to damage the car. So the best thing for us to do is really to pull out of it. We've stuck the snatch strap on. We're not going to use it as a snatch strap. We're actually going to use it as just a light tow hook, just so that the back end doesn't slide down as we're reversing out of this little area. Mainly just for safety's sake, and so the car doesn't end up way over to into the bush here. Now I know what you're thinking, why didn't I give it a bit and launch it over? I could have easily done that, but remember, this is my mate's Amarok, and this is the first time it's actually been off-road too, so I needed to give it back to him in one piece. And to be honest, we really didn't need that tow strap. The tyres grip the mud well, and it reversed straight up. The next challenge we set for these mud terrain tyres was some hill and rock climbs. Now we're going to air down the tyres a bit more for this test to give us more traction and climbing ability. I've got them set at 20 psi, and the terrain here on the side of this hill is a lot steeper than it looks in the video. The rocks are also quite slick after the rain shower we just had before we arrived here. So let's give it a go. Obviously the Amarok's traction control helped a lot, but this car has gone up these rock steps far better than any of the other cars that are here with us on this trip. Now the last test is to find some real clay-based mud roads. Nothing like some red clay to properly test a mud terrain tyre. And we found the perfect track. mud, clay, and a decent hill to go down and back up again to make it even more difficult. We sent my Pajero down first, and as you can see straight away, the AT style tyres clogged up with mud. In comparison, the tread on the MT71s are clearing far better as we move forward and not sliding nearly as much. The return trip up the hill was also done with ease in comparison to the Pajero with the AT51s. The Amarok performed far better. We also had a few other four-wheel drives with us, and there's no doubt that the MT71s made the climb from the bottom of the hill in the muddy conditions a breeze in comparison, which is what we were obviously hoping. So I've had a pretty fun day here in the Wadigans testing these new Kumho tyres, and I've got to say I'm pretty impressed. Now admittedly we've only had a day to test them, but it's been very muddy up here and they've performed exceptionally well. This big block pattern on these tyres clears the mud well, and that's really important when you're going through really slippery sections like we were today. You need maximum grip to keep you moving forward, and that's what we had. I wasn't sure how these tyres would go on rocks and rock climbing, but they took everything that we threw at them. Admittedly, this car is standard, so we had to be careful that we didn't damage it. But everything that we went over, it went over really well. So what's my conclusion? These are an excellent mud terrain tyre, probably the best I've driven on, with the added benefit of being very quiet and well balanced on road. I thought they might be a bit skatey on wet bitumen, but they hung on well. They also gripped extremely well under heavy braking, which means you could easily have them on your daily drive. In terms of wear, I can't give you any prediction other than Kumho's marketing, which claims you should get at least 80,000 kilometres from a set. Being such a new tyre in Australia, I couldn't find any info from any owners on their wear performance. So overall, I rate these tyres very highly and wouldn't hesitate to recommend them to any serious off-roader. We didn't do any crazy tracks today, and our four-wheel drive is a standard Amarok, but I'm pretty sure that a set of these MT71 tyres on a big, well-set-up rig would see it go anywhere. In fact, I'm so impressed that I've actually bought a few sets of the MT71 for my Safari rally vehicle. But more about that in another video. Don't forget to give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and click the little bell to get notifications every time we upload a video.